Intelligence Briefing. This is edition number 44. And since it's Monday, September 15th, let's be honest, the global markets aren't the only thing struggling to open this morning. But unlike maybe your overflowing inbox, the intelligence brief we're dissecting today, covering Sunday, September 14th, 2025, is actually designed to make sense, giving you the critical connections you need. Our mission, as always, is to take your curated intelligence brief, sift through all the noise, and really uncover the critical connections and the impactful insights, all tailored to help you understand the global landscape. Let's jump straight into the top highlights from yesterday. First up, Israel intensified its assault on Gaza City.
Yeah, demolishing at least 30 residential buildings, forcing thousands to flee. And this coincided with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's arrival.
Right, a challenging diplomatic visit urging restraint.
Absolutely. And the reverberations were pretty immediate.
Like the pro-Palestinian protests in Madrid.
Exactly. Big enough to force the cancellation of Spain's Vuelta cycling finale.
Wow. And then across the channel, London saw something quite different.
One of its largest far-right rallies in decades, called Unite the Kingdom.
We'll definitely dig into that elsewhere.
Tens of thousands demonstrated in Ankara against a crackdown on Turkey's main opposition party.
Okay.
And Albanians rallied in The Hague over the ongoing Kosovo war crimes trials.
A lot of public demonstration. What about ongoing conflicts?
Ukraine showed its widening reach with a massive drone strike on Russia's Kirishi oil refinery.
Okay, hitting infrastructure. And in the Americas?
The U.S. deployed F-35 fighters to Puerto Rico amid rising tensions with Venezuela.
And former President Donald Trump was vocal again.
Yes, calling for NATO allies to halt Russian oil purchases and also impose steep tariffs on China.
Always making waves. Anything less conflict-oriented.
Actually, yes. Some surprising scientific innovation in South Africa. They're using black mamba snakes to monitor heavy metal pollution.
Seriously, black mambas.
Seriously. And a really human story from Kenya's Kakuma camp, where the Red Cross continues its work reuniting families separated by conflict.
That's vital work. Okay, so quite a mix yesterday. What's the overall assessment?
For this snapshot of September 14th, the overall global threat level is assessed as moderate.
Moderate despite some of these high-intensity events.
Well, it's not about a single event. It's the confluence. You have escalating conflicts, widespread protests, significant military posturing across multiple regions. All of these carry potential for further escalation.
Got it. And the confidence in this information.
The confidence level for this brief is rated a 2, which indicates low uncertainty. Meaning most of the information we're analyzing today comes from multiple corroborated reports. But, we'll definitely flag any specific instances where data relies on, say, single interviews or unverified eyewitness accounts. We want you to have the clearest picture.
Okay, good. Clarity is key. Before we delve deeper, just a quick word about the force powering these insights. This deep dive is brought to you by NextSight. They're a global leader in investigations and intelligence. Their open-source intelligence platform, Sight Connect, is actually what fuels these detailed reports, and it lets you tailor them to your precise needs. From really intricate cross-border investigations to critical corporate intelligence, their work consistently operates on another level. It's fast, precise, and fully corroborated. You can learn more at www.next-sight.com.
Okay, let's really unpack this intense situation in the Middle East. It continues to dominate global attention and, frankly, shows no signs of easing up.
No, it doesn't. Israeli forces significantly escalated their assault on Gaza City yesterday. Our sources indicate the demolition of at least 30 residential buildings.
30? That's a lot.
It is, specifically flattening large parts of the Al Ramel neighborhood. And this forced thousands of Palestinians to flee their homes.
And the IDF claims these actions are targeting Hamas infrastructure. Meanwhile, the Gaza Health Ministry reports dozens of civilian casualties. It's clearly a high-threat level event, just fraught with ongoing humanitarian and political consequences.
And what's particularly striking here, as you mentioned, is this intensified assault coincided with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's arrival. Talk about a challenging backdrop for diplomacy.
Indeed. Secretary Rubio visited both Israel and Doha, Qatar. It's a real balancing act.
About so.
He urged restraint from Israeli forces, pushed for expanded humanitarian access into Gaza, and critically called for accountability, specifically regarding that earlier Israeli strike in Qatar that tragically killed Hamas envoys.
Right, that incident caused quite a stir.
It did. So his mission highlights this fundamental diplomatic challenge.
Yeah.
How do you support an ally while trying to mitigate a humanitarian crisis and maintain vital ties with a key regional mediator like Qatar?
A very delicate line to walk.
Extremely. This diplomatic intervention also carries a high threat level, simply because any misstep could have cascading effects on regional stability.
And then we have these deeply concerning allegations coming from medical professionals who've recently returned from Gaza.
Yes, this is difficult reporting. Foreign doctors, including some from the U.S. and the Netherlands, have returned with really grave allegations.
What are they alleging?
They've documented, they say, 114 cases of children shot in the head or chest. They're describing what they believe to be systematic targeting.
That's incredibly serious. What's Israel's response?
Israel has explicitly denied these allegations. They state they do not intentionally target civilians.
But these claims aren't just disappearing.
No. The Palestinian Center for Human Rights, the PCHR, has taken these claims seriously enough to file complaints at the International Criminal Court, the ICC.
Okay, so this is now potentially moving into the international legal arena. How are we flagging this in the brief?
Right, we're flagging this particular report with a B4. Now, that isn't to dismiss the gravity of the allegations at all.
Understood. It's about the sourcing.
Exactly. It signals that our confidence level is lower right now because the information currently relies heavily on witness testimony rather than multiple independent corroborating sources.
So for you, the listener, this means it's a critical developing story, needs very close attention, but with the understanding that further independent verification is really needed to solidify the claims.
Precisely. The allegations themselves, however, are so serious, they immediately raise the threat level to high just due to the potential war crime implications.
Okay, so how are these profound and escalating flashpoints in the Middle East reverberating? Let's turn to Europe, where we're seeing direct consequences.
Absolutely. The conflict is directly fueling a theme we're tracking closely: mass protests and political polarization.
And we saw a really stark example of this in Madrid yesterday.
We did. Roughly 100,000 pro-Palestinian demonstrators took to the streets there. They blocked roads and ultimately forced the cancellation of Spain's Vuelta a España cycling finale.
Wow, canceling a major international sporting event. That's significant disruption.
It is. And it wasn't just a disruption. It had a tangible economic impact. You're talking broadcast rights, sponsorship revenue. It really underscores how geopolitical events can spill over and affect daily life and commerce, even thousands of miles away.
Okay, so shifting focus within Europe, what's also fascinating is just the sheer scale and, well, the diversity of public demonstrations we saw yesterday. It wasn't just about the Middle East.
That's right. In Turkey, for instance, we observed tens of thousands protesting in Ankara. This was against a pending legal crackdown on the main opposition party, the Republican People's Party, the CHP.
That's a major political force in Turkey, isn't it?
It is. Protesters are accusing President Erdogan of silencing dissent and are demanding the release of jailed politicians.
And the markets reacted?
Immediately. This political uncertainty contributed to a 2.5% intraday depreciation of the Turkish lira. We see this as signaling a moderate threat level, thinking about potential civil unrest and maybe further authoritarian measures.
And then there's London, a very different yet equally significant kind of rally there.
London hosted the United Kingdom rally. Reports suggest it was one of the largest far-right gatherings in decades, drawing an estimated 150,000 participants to Trafalgar Square.
150,000. What were their demands?
Centered on tighter immigration controls, various anti-government grievances. Speeches were delivered by figures like Tommy Robinson.
And wasn't there some tech personality involved?
Yes, notably, a recorded message from Elon Musk was also played. The event saw clashes with police, and it contributed to a weakening of the sterling against the euro.
How solid is the reporting on this, especially the numbers?
Good question. We're flagging the reliability for this event as C3.
Meaning?
It means, while the broad details the rally happened, there were clashes, key speakers are corroborated by official police briefings and multiple news outlets. Some of the finer points, particularly those participant counts and maybe the specific incident details, were cross-referenced with sources that included things like student-run live blogs.
Okay, so it's important context for you, the listener, to understand how we weigh different types of sources. Still a major event, though.
Undeniably.
We also saw protests in The Hague, but with a different international focus, right?
Yes. Hundreds of Albanians rallied there yesterday against the Kosovo War Crimes Court. They were demanding what they consider fair treatment for former President Hashim Thaçi and his co-defendants.
What's their argument?
Their core argument is that the trial is politically motivated. It was a peaceful demonstration, but it clearly underscores those lingering ethnic tensions and grievances related to the Kosovo conflict.
And a crucial reminder that Europe's tensions aren't just internal political ones. We had a direct military incident involving Russia yesterday.
That's right. A report came out of Romania detailing a Russian drone violating its airspace for about 50 minutes near the Black Sea coast.
Violated NATO airspace. How was it handled?
Romanian F-16s were scrambled and they intercepted the drone. But significantly, they deliberately did not shoot it down.
Why?
To avoid potential civilian harm from falling debris over populated areas.
Makes sense. Is this a one-off?
No, unfortunately. It seems to be part of a concerning pattern of Russian drones straying into NATO territory. The EU Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen, has already condemned such incursions pretty strongly, calling them an attack on EU sovereignty.
So the threat level here.
We're assessing this as moderate threat level due to that very real potential for inadvertent escalation between Russian forces and NATO. A miscalculation could be very dangerous.
Okay. Moving across the Atlantic now, the Americas presented their own set of high-stakes maneuvers yesterday. A different kind of geopolitical chess game unfolding.
Definitely. In a clear show of force, the U.S. deployed 5 F-35 fighters, along with helicopters and Osprey aircraft, to the former Roosevelt Roads base in Puerto Rico.
F-35s to Puerto Rico. What's the stated purpose?
This military buildup, ordered by President Trump, is officially intended to support counter-drug operations. But significantly, it's also seen as a move to deter Venezuela.
Especially after that prior incident.
Exactly. This deployment follows that earlier U.S. attack on a Venezuelan vessel, which tragically killed 11 people. So we're looking at a moderate threat level here, simply due to the rapidly rising tensions between the two countries.
What's fascinating here, and also quite concerning, are the direct conflicting claims coming from Venezuela itself regarding these kinds of operations. It feels like a recipe for serious miscalculation.
Absolutely. Venezuela's foreign minister, Yvonne Gil, publicly claimed yesterday that the U.S. Navy illegally boarded a Venezuelan tuna vessel, the Oriana, in Caribbean waters.
Illegally boarded? How did he frame it?
He explicitly called it an act of aggression. He asserted that the U.S. warship detained the vessel for 8 hours and even looted crew belongings.
And the U.S. version?
The U.S. maintains the boarding was part of their ongoing counter-narcotics operations, specifically targeting narcotics traffickers.
So two completely opposing narratives.
Exactly. And from an intelligence perspective, discerning the absolute truth when both sides present such strong opposing stories is incredibly difficult. The immediate danger, really, lies in the potential for miscalculation between U.S. and Venezuelan forces, where the truth can unfortunately become secondary to national posturing and saving face.
A volatile situation. Yeah. And then we have former President Donald Trump weighing in again, this time on global economic policy, even without immediate executive authority.
Indeed. Former President Trump used his social media platform yesterday to make some pretty significant calls.
What were they?
He called for NATO members to immediately halt all Russian oil purchases.
A complete halt.
That was the call. And also to impose substantial tariffs on Chinese purchases, he mentioned, ranges like 50 to 100%.
What's his reasoning?
His stated reasoning is twofold. Deprive Russia of revenue, thereby helping to end the conflict in Ukraine, and also to rebalance trade with China. He specifically criticized Turkey and Hungary as major Russian oil purchasers who he feels aren't doing enough.
Now, obviously, he can't implement this himself right now, but what's the impact of him saying it?
Well, even without immediate policy authority, these pronouncements definitely fuel transatlantic tensions, create uncertainty in global markets, and signal future policy intent. That's why we've given it a B3 flag, a moderate threat level. It might not change policy today, but it could dramatically alter the geopolitical landscape tomorrow if he were to return to power, or if current governments feel pressured to act.
Okay, so his words still carry weight. If we connect this to the bigger picture, are we seeing similar regional standoffs playing out in Asia with significant economic implications?
Yes, absolutely. China's military issued a stern warning to the Philippines yesterday, cautioning them against provocations in the South China Sea.
Where specifically?
Particularly near the disputed Second Thomas Shoal. The PLA Southern Theater Command stated it would resolutely defend national sovereignty.
And the economic piece?
This is a profoundly significant point of contention, because these waters contain vital shipping lanes. We're talking an estimated $3.4 trillion in trade passing through annually.
Trillions.
Trillions. So any escalation here, any miscalculation, would have massive global economic repercussions, hence the moderate threat level. The risk was constant.
We also saw significant domestic unrest unfolding in Asia yesterday, highlighting internal pressures too.
That's right. Student-led demonstrations are continuing in Jakarta, Indonesia.
What sparked these latest protests?
They were initially sparked by controversial pay raises for parliamentarians, around $3,075 per month in housing allowances, which caused public anger, and also, tragically, the death of a delivery driver during earlier demonstrations.
But it sounds like it's about more than just recent events.
Oh, definitely. These protests represent long-standing, deep-seated grievances in Indonesia. Things like inequality, corruption, human rights abuses. It shows a broader societal discontent bubbling up.
Okay. And back to active conflict zones from the ongoing Ukraine war, we have a major development highlighting its widening reach.
Yes, Ukraine launched what's being described as a massive drone strike yesterday. Involved 361 drones, apparently.
361 drones. What was the target?
Russia's Kurishi oil refinery. The attack sparked a significant fire and temporarily disrupted operations.
How significant is that refinery?
It processes approximately 210,000 barrels per day, so a major facility.
And Russia's response?
Well, beyond dealing with the fire, Russia's response included testing hypersonic missiles shortly after. This isn't just tit for tat. It signifies a dangerous potential escalation, possibly lowering the threshold for using advanced weaponry and challenging existing defense strategies. It really underscores the war's expanding reach and its impact on critical energy infrastructure.
Definitely a worrying development. Okay, let's pivot now to some of the more surprising and maybe hopeful, or at least thought-provoking developments from yesterday's brief. It's often in these unexpected corners we find real ingenuity.
I agree. And from South Africa, we have truly fascinating research coming out of the University of the Witwatersrand.
This is the Black Mamba story.
This is the Black Mamba story. They're pioneering the use of, yes, Black Mamba snake scales to monitor heavy metal pollution in urban environments, like Johannesburg.
How does that even work?
Well, through non-lethal sampling of the scales, they found that these apex predators accumulate environmental toxins in their tissues. So the scales provide a record, a novel, and potentially very low-cost bioindicator for environmental agencies.
That's incredible, a bioindicator.
Exactly. Think of it as like a natural early warning system. This unconventional approach could be a game changer, especially for cities maybe in developing nations, offering an accessible blueprint for pollution detection where traditional methods might be too expensive.
Fascinating. And you mentioned a human story, too.
Yes. What's also incredibly moving is seeing human resilience and compassion shine through, even in really dark circumstances.
Where was this?
At Kenya's Kakuma refugee camp, the International Committee of the Red Cross, the ICRC, is doing incredible, vital work there.
What kind of work?
They're helping refugees, many from South Sudan, Ethiopia, locate family members they've been separated from by conflict as part of their Restoring Family Links program.
That must be unbelievably important for people.
It is. This isn't just about finding people. This vital work aids immensely in psychological recovery. It contributes significantly to community stability within the camp. It really offers a beacon of hope amidst immense hardship.
Truly essential work. And speaking of global impact, there was an International Court of Justice ruling with implications for anti-corruption efforts worldwide.
Yes, the ICJ ruled yesterday that France does not have to return a seized Paris mansion.
Whose mansion?
It belongs to Equatorial Guinea's Vice President, Teodoro Nguema Obiang. He had claimed diplomatic immunity.
But the court rejected that.
They did. The court cited prior corruption convictions against him and referenced the UN Convention Against Corruption to uphold these anti-corruption norms.
What's the significance?
Well, it impacts assets valued at tens of millions of euros. But more importantly, it sets a crucial precedent for international anti-corruption efforts. It strengthens the hand of nations trying to recover illicitly gained wealth.
A win for anti-corruption efforts, then. Now, back here in the U.S., after the tragic assassination of activist Charlie Kirk, domestic security and political rhetoric are obviously front and center.
Very much so. In Salt Lake City, Utah, authorities yesterday arrested 2 men and seized explosives.
Related to the Kirk case?
It appears so. An incendiary device was found under a news crew's vehicle. This crew had been covering the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
Was anyone hurt?
Thankfully, the device failed to detonate, but the FBI is now investigating possible terrorism charges. It really highlights the persistent and evolving risks of domestic extremism.
And political leaders are responding.
Yes, U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson called for national unity in a CBS interview. He stated that Kirk's murder could be a turning point for the country.
What did he urge?
He urged an end to polarizing rhetoric to try and preempt further political violence. He also noted that additional security funding would be requested. It's certainly a moment forcing reflection on the tenor of political discourse and its real-world consequences.
Indeed. And briefly, any other notable developments stateside or nearby?
Just a couple of quick mentions. We're seeing UnitedHealth lobbying efforts to meet with former President Trump over federal Medicare billing probes. That could be significant in healthcare regulation down the line.
Okay.
And, maybe more of a footnote, former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro underwent minor skin surgery while serving his 27-year coup plot sentence. Provides a sort of glimpse into the human side of these high-stakes political dramas.
Right. Okay, so bringing it all together, what does this all mean for us?
Looking at yesterday's global brief, it's just abundantly clear that these events, while geographically diverse, are deeply interconnected. They're not just random occurrences happening in isolation.
That's precisely what our correlational analysis highlights when we look at the source material. We can see direct links.
Give us an example. Okay, take the Ukraine drone strike on the Kirishi refinery. Combine that with former President Trump's calls for a Russian oil embargo. What happened?
Oil prices.
A brief but noticeable spike in Brent crude futures. Traders immediately priced in roughly a 2% risk premium.
Meaning they expect trouble.
Meaning global markets are anticipating a heightened risk of supply disruption due to the conflict and the rhetoric. They're essentially adjusting costs before problems might fully materialize. It's a direct, almost instant economic ripple effect.
Okay, what else?
Similarly, look at the mass protests in Turkey. They directly led to the lira depreciating nearly 2.5%.
In London.
The far-right demonstrations in London contributed to the sterling weakening against the euro. It demonstrates pretty clearly how social unrest correlates directly with short-term capital flight and what we call a risk-off sentiment among investors. Money gets nervous.
Makes sense. Any others?
On a different note, that U.S. deployment of F-35s to Puerto Rico and Romania's drone interception over the Black Sea, they coincided with a 1.8% rise in defense sector indices.
Investors anticipating spending.
Exactly. Investors anticipate increased procurement budgets and defense spending.
So conflict and tension can boost certain sectors.
It often does. And, just as a contrast, a positive influence, we even saw that sporting successes, like Germany's Eurobasket victory and India's cricket win yesterday, often trigger small, temporary boosts in local consumer sentiment. Though, admittedly, their wider macroeconomic impact is usually pretty limited.
Fascinating. This is exactly why understanding these intricate connections is so crucial for you, the listener. They ripple through economies, political landscapes, and even our daily lives in ways we might not immediately perceive. And as you listen, remember that NextSight's capabilities extend far beyond just reporting like this. Their OSINT specialists and investigative teams are experts at connecting these kinds of dots across borders, rigorously validating sources, and transforming fragmented information into truly actionable, strategic intelligence.
So, to leave you with a final thought for today, considering this really intense mix we've discussed, the global conflicts, the widespread protests, those diplomatic high-wire acts, how do you see these converging pressures shaping the stability of international alliances and maybe global economies in the coming weeks?
Yeah, what are the dominoes that might fall next?
Something to think about. That concludes the Sunday, September 14th, 2025 Intelligence Brief, brought to you on this Monday, September 15th edition of The Deep Dive. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube and Spotify, and please share your thoughts by liking, commenting, or spreading the word. Stay informed, stay sharp, and may your Monday be smoother than the morning commute.